Every layer of your career requires you to be different. So if you're being the same doer, you're not going to be seen as someone who's promotable. When you're in your alignment, when you're in your soul's truth, you're living more purposefully, you're living more efficiently, you're living more free and more flow. I'm here for another episode of Soul Powered Revolution. How about you? Are you here for another episode of Soul Powered? In this episode, I am going to talk about something I've talked about before. So you may be like, oh, Mo, I've heard that before. Well, you know what? If your life hasn't changed, or if your life isn't where you want it to be, you need better change. You need more change. You need soul power. I'm going to dive into what soul power actually means and why it's important. And I really want you to buckle in here, take some notes, and really process this at a deep level. All the work that we do in our soul powered career coaching and all the work I do in my advanced programs, soul powered leaders, executives, soul powered women, my retreats, communication coaching, all of it is based on the fact that you as a human being are energy. And that energy that you emit, that comes through you, through all of the layers of how you define yourself, your beliefs, your upbringing, your culture, your language, your experiences, all of that jigs your energy before it emits into the field. And at the same time you're emitting into the field, you're receiving energy from the field. And you are translating that. So you translate your energy out through your shit or through your awesomeness. And then you receive in through your shit or through your awesomeness. Now, there is no person whose transmission into the field is 100% shit, or no person that it's 100% pure. Not one person. And when you receive from the field, you are taking in what matches your energy layers. So if you believe that people are generous, if you believe that there's prosperity out there, if you believe that you're lucky and beautiful and that life is awesome, that's how you're going to receive the field. And this is why arrogant people get ahead. Did you hear me? Did you figure that out? Are you with me? This is how arrogant people get ahead, because their vibrational tone in the field is higher than yours. If you're an honest, modest person, you've probably been pushed backwards, pushed down, told untruths. You probably believe you have some victimness or some martyrness in you. You probably believe that no matter how hard you try, you're not getting ahead, or how smart you are, or you've been told to shut up. I was told I talked a lot since I was in college. I was class president. I spoke to the graduates of my nursing class. I was brought back as an alumni to speak to the graduate nursing class. I make a living now talking. As an executive, a lot of what I did was communicating. And so it's easy for someone to criticize someone who talks. It's easy for me, if I feel bad about that, or if I have a wound, or if I have a lower sense of self, that if someone says that to me, it's going to keep that wound open. So I'm processing the world when I'm wounded as if talking a lot is a problem. And when I'm not wounded, I'm thinking talking a lot is my gift. When I'm feeling aligned with my divinity, with my soul power, with my gifts, I realize that how I communicate and how I can communicate better than many people is a gift. I've been criticized for it since I was at least in my early 20s. I specifically remember as a young student nurse doing a dressing change at the bedside of an elderly woman who had a deep, deep wound in one of her hips. Deep flesh wound. It went layers into the muscle. A bed sore that went wrong. And part of our training as a nurse was to check off all these clinical competencies. And this particular patient brought a clinical competency of doing a sterile dressing change. Okay. And trust me when I say I studied it. I knew exactly what I needed to do. And I think I even may have practiced with some of my fellow college nursing mates. And so when it came time to do the dressing change, I knew what I was doing. And part of the dressing change also involved a pain shot to this patient a little bit before the dressing change so that it wouldn't hurt so much because it was deep. Ooh, we had to pack a lot of dressing. And part of the dressing change involved taking the old dressing out or off, which means you've got a dirty dressing, infected because it's going into a wound, that you have to pull out, take care of, and not expose it to your sterile field at all. So there was the shot, there was the removal of the old dressing, and then there was the sterile packing of the new dressing. Sort of a complicated thing for a 20-year-old kid who's in college and trying to do a good job. And of course, in order to get checked off on the competency list, I was being watched by my professor. And this professor was smart and she was good. And I really, really thought she was awesome. And she's asking me questions along the way as I'm doing everything. I'm feeling very self-conscious, making sure that the patient doesn't feel like she's a guinea pig. And I'm answering the questions as my instructor, my professor, is asking me the questions along the way. And then I did something unconventional. I don't remember what it was at this point. On the sterile dressing and doing the sterile dressing, I did something unconventional, but still kept the sterile field. And I rocked that dressing change. I rocked the sterile dressing. I felt awesome. And you know what I'm really good at? Taping wounds. To this day, if someone has a sprained ankle, a sprained wrist, or needs like something bandaged and taped up, I'm your gal. There's just certain things about being a nurse that I really enjoy and really enjoyed. And I still, to this day, am pretty darn good at it. So I left the room with my professor after taking care of that patient. It was probably a good 45 minutes total with that patient to do this. I'm sure the nurses on the floor loved the fact that they had student nurses taking care of their dirty work. It was fine. I enjoyed it. I had fun. I know fun, but as a young nurse, it's fun to do cool stuff with patients and help them. So on the way out of the room, in the hallway, my nursing professor said to me, "You did a great job in there. You had a lot of confidence. You did the right things. You checked all the boxes for the sterile dressing change. But you know what? Your mouth's going to get you in trouble." I'm like, really? Okay. And at this point, I was already the class president, and my mouth had actually gotten me a fair amount of help and authority. And I was a resident director at college also. Always sort of had this like little leadership bossy thing going on. And I felt pretty happy with myself as a young college woman, finishing up my nursing education, being a leader on campus. And yet those words stung me as deep as that wound I just patched for that patient. Deep sting. And I'm like, oh crap. Am I really a jerk? Am I really too much for people? Oh man. And I didn't know whether to take it in or not. But because she was my professor and smart and I looked up to her, I took it in. And I got to say, for years, probably decades, maybe even to this day, there's a lingering hangover of her words. Every time I talk a little bit too much or feel that I'm being a little bit too much, I might hear that professor's words. I've done a lot of work to move through that because I've had other bosses say that. I've had bosses or colleagues say that to me in meetings totally shaming and embarrassing me. I'm just trying to be helpful. And I am good at explaining things. And you know what? Sometimes bosses don't want things explained. They want to keep things in the dark. And I'll jump in and explain it all. Thanks, Maureen. We didn't need all of that. Ooh. Well, yes, we did. But when you're not the top rung, you're going to take it as like, okay, I'm wrong. I'm bad. I'm not as talented or as gifted as I thought I was. You've had experiences just like this. And I'm going to suggest to you right now, if they're coming to you, if your experiences in past is coming to you, and this is a reminder, I want you to write it down. And I want you to do some energetic shifts with some of these beliefs, because these beliefs are inside of you in such a way that they are dictating to you underneath your consciousness. Your subconscious programming is dictating 80 to 90% of how you are in the world. It's dictating 100% of how you assess the world. So back to the energy that you're pushing out and the energy that's coming in that you're translating, it's coming through all of those layers of beliefs about who we are and how the world is. If I believe that I talk too much and I am too much, I'm going to be super vigilant and conscious of when I speak and how I do it. I'm going to be full of anxiety about it. I'm going to go into worry, and I'll probably at some point even not say things that I should and could say, but I won't because I don't want to be shamed again. I don't want that wound to be reopened. We protect ourselves because it's a natural mechanism as a human being to protect ourselves from being hurt. Those are called defense mechanisms. And over time, as a professional woman, you have gotten so many wounds popped that you're probably protecting yourself from almost everything. Most of our clients talk about how their voice has been shut down, sometimes chronic laryngitis, but most of the time it's just speaking up and being vocal and visible. But sometimes it's truly a physical problem. The body will finally wave us down if we don't pay attention to these signals. So you are transmitting and receiving energetic being in the world, and your body is feeling it all the time. But you probably don't process it because it's so natural for us to feel the energy coming and going. We can feel happy or sad or anxious or excited. We've been processing it through our filters for so many decades that we don't even know that our filters are there, because it just feels like, well, this is just who I am. This is just how I am in the world. This is just my personality. The other day I was FaceTiming with my granddaughter. I haven't seen her in a month or so, and I've been missing her. Her energy is so infectious and lovely. And she's always eager to learn and explore and do things. She's a very active, curious kid. And I got on FaceTime with her, and for some reason, I just decided to play with some of the faces that you can put on FaceTime. And then she was like, Momo, how are you doing that? What are you doing? And I was explaining, go to the bottom, click, slide, whatever. And she totally got into it. And then I was showing her how to write on the screen and how to put text and how to do cartoon looks and all sorts of things that I didn't really plan on doing, but it just came spontaneously. I spontaneously moved into a mode of play. And sometimes spending time with an 8-year-old, we don't do that because we've been told that that's not what adults do. And if I show a kid how to play on a phone, that's like showing her that phones are toys, and phones aren't toys. Phones are serious things that they need to be respected. Blah, blah, blah. I got my dad in one ear. I got my mom in the other ear. I got society going all crazy. But I chose in that moment to follow my own internal lead, my divine lead of play and joy and curiosity. And I was able to move through a few thin layers, transmitting and receiving. She was enjoying being with me. She was enjoying learning. We were having fun together with different faces We were laughing and giggling. And at the same time, I knew that I was helping her express herself, helping her feel confident and happy with what she can do and learn and try to do this and do it that way and try it this way. And which one do you like? Helping her express herself. And that was an intuitive time together. I didn't let any restrictive beliefs come through. And I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying it as an example. When we are in our truth, when we are connected to divine, when we are in our soul power, we are letting the world move in and through. We are transmitting and receiving with more pure energy. It's never 100% pure. With more pure energy and truth, and we are following the lead of our divine soul self. This is how we become better leaders. This is how we become better communicators. This is how we become more present with people we love or even people we don't love. If you're present with a coworker for 5 minutes, it's going to save a lot of time. But if you're in your wounds, if you're trying to cover up, if you don't like that person, you're being sort of crappy with them, you're going to be inefficient. You're going to waste time. And I don't know about you, I ain't got no time to waste. So when you're in your alignment, when you're in your soul's truth, you're living more purposefully, you're living more efficiently, you're living more free and more flow. You're able to say the right things at the right time because it's coming just spontaneously and naturally because you're transmitting and receiving the flow of energy from the field. And if you know anything about the law of attraction, when you're hanging out in flow, you're hanging out in a higher vibrational truth, and you're going to attract higher vibrational people, places, and things. The experience I had with my granddaughter was joyous, exhilarating. It brought me to a place of fulfillment and happiness. It brought me to a place where I hung out for several hours afterwards of feeling that the world is friendly and happy, and that I am friendly and happy. And I was able to continue having a beautiful, delightful day by myself, walking around, enjoying lunch, enjoying a little shopping, picking up some trinkets for my sisters who are coming to visit in a few months, and just feeling lovely. And yes, running a business, having colleagues, having clients, I have to have some very crucial conversations. I have to stand in my power sometimes, really strongly about certain things with people who are helping me or team members or the way that I think things should go, or I have to listen powerfully to those who have expertise beyond me. It happens more easily when I'm in my alignment. And I do commit every day to being in my alignment. And so does my team members. Each and every one of my team members has a commitment for their own personal soul growth because it's what we do and it's how we do life. I'm proud of who my kids have become at 33 and 39. They are awesome, gorgeous, beautiful, thriving adults and human beings in the world. They emit beautiful energy. And none of us are perfect. And when we're not perfect with each other, we have impactful, crucial conversations without judging, without anger, without devaluing. It's really lovely. And I've been at this work for 43 plus years. It's lovely to be on a soul-powered path. It's lovely to help others get there. And it's lovely to also then enjoy my granddaughter and her brother, my grandson, being in flow, being lovely, and not being snippy and irritable and don't do that and we can't. Oh, we have to be careful. It's a phone. We have to treat it a certain way. Like, enough of that bullshit. There's nothing an 8-year-old can do to screw up a phone. I mean, really. And if they do, what gives? So allow yourself to release the wounds and the beliefs that no longer support you. And if you don't know how, we know how. You can book a call with us. It's mofaul.com/talk. We've had thousands of clients over the past 10 plus years. in almost every industry you can imagine. I was a healthcare executive. I was a nurse. I know the healthcare realm and the world, the back of all of my hands. I've got 2 of them. And I've helped women in every other industry. Why? Because the human being you need to be is the same formula no matter what your work or industry. If you're a struggling engineer and you're not where you want to be, our formula works. If you're a struggling marketer, or if you're a director or VP and you're like, how does that next level happen? How can they don't pick me? I got a woman right now who's in my workshop. She's a VP and she's not getting picked for the next level. She's not acting that way. And she doesn't know what that takes. And now she's learning. Now she's learning what that next level takes. And she's asking for things and she's asking to be included. And she's showing up differently. You know, every layer of your career requires you to be different. So if you're being the same doer, you're not going to be seen as someone who's promotable. Listen to my other podcasts. I talk about this in depth in many of my other podcasts. For this week, don't settle. Don't settle for your current energetic equivalency that's transmitting and receiving. Learn to heal and grow the internal self, because that's how you change how you're perceiving the world and how the world is perceiving you. We'll see you next time. This is Coach Mo Faul, mofaul.com/talk. If you'd like to have a career reinvention call with my team to really digest and dissect what's going on with your career. If we can help, we'll show you the way. Coach Mo Faul, see you next time. Everything that women face in the corporate world, in life actually, can be counterattacked, counteropposed by a woman's powerful internal sense of being. And I call that your soul power. I want to help more women understand their soul power, and I want to create a soul-powered revolution. This is Coach Mo, mofaul.com.